Thank you. More protests outside the Kenosha, Wisconsin courthouse Wednesday. Inside, the jury in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial was creating quite the legal stir with questions they asked of the court. And by reviewing video evidence of the night in question, let's talk about these developments tonight with civil rights attorney Robert Patillo and Article 3 Project President Mike Davis. Gentlemen, thank you both. Robert, you have not pulled any punches against this prosecutor over the course of this trial. What do you think of the video, the drone video that was not disclosed, as well as these calls for a mistrial?
Well, I don't know if they've reached the point of mistrial yet, but, we either have to come to assumptions about the prosecutor. Either they are exceedingly sloppy and they miss very easy things to catch by most lawyers who have been practicing for a period of time, or they are intentionally doing these things to try to nibble around the edges to skirt the rules. And I think I've practiced criminal defense my entire career, and if a prosecutor pulled half of these things, I would be doing the exact same thing this defense team is. Frankly, I would be in handcuffs probably in contempt of court if you were going to have a different video for closing arguments that you gave me during discovery. I think the defense team is absolutely within their rights, and I think if it wasn't such a high-profile case, this would have been a mistrial already.
Yeah, and he makes a proper assessment there, Mike, because sloppy is a word that has been used over and over again. I want to play this back and forth between the defense and the prosecution concerning the video and the mistrial, and then get your take. Watch.
We didn't have the quality of evidence that the state had until the case had been closed. And I think that is required in a case like this, where he's looking at a life sentence, potentially without parole if he's convicted.
And I do not believe an unknown technical incident should result in a mistrial.
I mean, even if Kyle Rittenhouse is acquitted, the judge says, look, this thing could come back to haunt us. What do you think, Mike?
Well, Kyle Rittenhouse has a constitutional right to a fair trial, and that includes receiving all inculpatory and exculpatory evidence, and he didn't receive it in this case. And this evidence is more in his favor. It's more high-definition video that shows very clearly that he acted in self-defense when he shot these three men. So I think the prosecutors have a big problem here.
Yeah, I mean, and the concept here is that this case has been going on now for the better part of 2 weeks. The jury now, tomorrow will be the third day of deliberations. The judge in this case has gotten some heat from, the liberal media. I want to put this up from Glenn Greenwald. He wrote the following, quoting here, Bruce Schroeder, 75, the judge has been a judge for 38 years. Until 2 weeks ago, almost nobody outside Wisconsin heard of him. Based on a few snippets spread online, the national media created a consensus that he's a hardened racist, bigot, and white supremacist. Proper assessment, do you think, Robert?
I don't think it's a proper assessment. I do think that I actually encourage the public to do this. Go down to courts more often, not just when they're on television, and to see the interactions. The lawyers, we would love to have a gallery there. We'd love to have people there to see what we're doing and the work we put in. It's very much more mundane and pedantic than what we see on television. So I don't think any televised conceptualizations of what this judge thinks should really color his entire career. But to the point, the reason the judge has been so hard on prosecutors is because they've been so sloppy throughout the case, trying to slide in evidence that was already ruled on in pretrial hearings, trying to slide in videos that you didn't disclose during discovery. That's the reason the judge has acted this way, because of the nature of the prosecution's case against Rittenhouse, which they did not need to do. These are unforced errors that they are making, which distract from the greater case of how exactly do you have self-defense against three different individuals in three different periods of time where you invited the conflict by showing up there with a rifle. They haven't proved that case at all, and I think that's the issue of why they keep doing this.
And Mike, what about the jurors? I mean, some of the legal experts today have been saying, there's a lot of concern that these jurors might be being intimidated, not only by the protesters outside, but by the spectators inside the court. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously going to have an effect if you're showing up and screaming outside of the courtroom where the jurors can hear you. I think people need to just stand back and let the jurors do their job here and not try to intimidate them. And I think the media needs to stop playing their racial narratives here. It just does not fit in this case.
Yeah, I've got to go here, but I want to get your takes quickly on this. You've got Nicholas Sandmann, of course, Covington Catholic, who sued the media. He's now saying that Kyle Rittenhouse should sue the media. Does he have a point there, Robert?
I don't think so. I don't think you're going to be able to prove your either the actual pecuniary damages necessary. I think people have the right to report and the evidence to evolve down the line. You know, we're in Brunswick, Georgia right now, the trial for Ahmaud Arbery that's taking place currently, and I think you should not be muzzling the press and suing them out of existence.
Yeah, and I understand you were there with the Reverend Jesse Jackson today. And finally to you, Mike, you know, your thoughts on that, this whole idea of Kyle Rittenhouse, because the media has been really against him, the vast majority of the media. Does he have a shot at suing?
I absolutely think he should sue for defamation, just like the Covington kid did against CNN for $250 million that was settled. Kyle Rittenhouse has been falsely called a white supremacist and a domestic terrorist. That is defamatory, and he should sue.
Robert Patillo, Mike Davis, gentlemen, thank you both.
Thanks, Trace.
Thank you.